I apologize if anyone. No, I'm not going to apologize if anyone's offended. The problem is that white folks offend us every day. White folks offend us every day.
And I'm going to say this here. When you all come back, you need to turn your chairs this way, because I'm going to be about right here. Y'all turn y'all chairs this way when you come back, because I'm going to be here instead of up there.
All right.
All right. You got some sandwiches and food over here. You got drinks here, books, tapes in the back. College, which is just down from the United Center. And it was a democratic finance function. I'm an American. And the audience was packed up in there. There was much tension. Dick Gregory was one of the main speakers. Brother Yoel steps up and asks him, well, brother, who is the enemy then? Let's do this focus then. What's stopping us from being patriots, son? And he said, if I was to name you the names of the people in control, you ain't gonna do nothing, no. So I ain't gonna name them, because you ain't gonna do shit. And the place went in an uproar. I'm gonna have this tape. I just left Chicago. This was last Tuesday. I'm gonna have this tape because they're just putting the tape out now. WVON sponsored it. But when you got radio all day, you don't sponsor forums. You ever seen a forum sponsored by WOL? You ever seen us? Because when you're talking all day, that is your forum. You don't need to make another forum unless somebody pay you to. So but the Patriot movement will be here soon. It's coming here soon. You're going to watch. I'm telling you, boys, somewhere they had a meeting. Oh, yeah. Yeah, somewhere they had a meeting, and these blacks got to toe the line, and they don't care if you agree with them as long as you don't fuck with them. And though it's unrighteous, you will be accepted as in on it because you didn't do anything against it. And so where you be afraid of dissent is the last measurement that they got on you as measurement of tolerance is dissent. And you won't equate dissent. You say, I lose my job. You about to lose it all. Trying to save nothing. And you know we've been up here in Baltimore where the police done come and closed us down.
Yes.
We be worried about Baltimore because of the way Smoke can ride her, where he can put red, black, and green up and put his name. I still seen one of them down the street and be a Rhodes Scholarship to the hunky. He can still be the same guy, no disruption. So something got to be wrong. Something got to be wrong somewhere. I can't believe this is right.
Keep coming over here, brother.
I'm coming by, but I hope you had it on, though.
I am, brother.
All right, yeah, you don't want to miss it. All right.
That's 2, and let me have the rest of it.
What's 2? Oh, to the door? You got to do that over there. Oh, you go. In fact, you go over there and then you come. And that's the weight that anyone should bear if they mean what they say, if they have the goods. Most of the time in the discussions, ain't nobody got no goods, so there's no mean what you say. It's no moment in there where you can get into it. Right? As I listen to Brother Donald, you know, I don't know, would they have cable TV out here?
Nothing.
Huh? What be on?
Nothing.
Everything be some good stuff? Howard? Oh, that's not. Oh, okay. Anything else? Nothing else? So nothing. I mean, they're local cable. Ain't they got the local cable with black shows? Public, they got that? They what? Ain't nobody ever went and took the class or something to qualify to get the show? Anybody in here take? What happened? Did you take the class? What happened?
Can't get it. It's not public access.
What happened? You better come up with something, buddy.
What I wanted to run, I couldn't run.
So what happened? Once you took the class where at?
Right, down at Coppin State College.
At Coppin State? Okay, y'all know about the classes.
They know about it.
So you can go over there and get the class and get certified, or something they call it, right?
That's right.
Then once you get certified, then don't you bid for time or fight for airtime?
Yes, fight for time
A
slot.
slot. Okay, and then did you get a slot?
No, my program that I wanted to add didn't run.
Well, you can have a program before you have a slot.
No, I mean you can.
Don't you get the slot first and then you get the program, put the program on it?
No,
Huh?
no, you don't get the slot first because sometimes the slot they can't guarantee slots. They can't guarantee slots, so particularly for how they got their program running. So sometimes you can't get a certain hour that you can run certain program because other folks have bid on that first come first serve.
Public access means you take a regular 2:30 at night.
That's right. But
And the fact is that in Baltimore, they run whatever they want to run. There is public access. The racists are getting their stuff in. The skinheads are getting their stuff in. The lesbians and the homosexuals and the trisexuals and the quadrisexuals are getting their
All of it.
So as a matter of just going and asking, and they'll put you at 3 o'clock in the morning. But it's public access.
Well, I'll tell you, one interesting thing about Los Angeles is that they only got one talk show, 4:30 a.m. to 6 a.m. Period. They ain't got nothing else. And they tend to work a lot stronger off of the hour and a half than those who got it in the morning, in the afternoon, and at the night. Because sometimes you can talk your way right out of it. Or talk too much into it and give too many leads on where you're going. Most people get on to tell what they're going to do. And because of that, they unconsciously report themselves in.
The Klan get on there, why can't he get on there?
I'm sorry, sister?
I said the Klan get on there, why can't he get on there?
Oh, that's not even the question right now. I'm speaking right now. The brothers through with the floor. And if you consider the fact that at 4:30 a.m. ain't nobody in competition with your ear and your eyes, you can see why in LA they get up for the front page. And everybody hears it. The people that are working from midnight to 8 hear it. The people that get up and work at 8 or school at 8 or 9 or work all get up a little earlier to hear it. And it's unadulterated. Oh, but I'm going to take care of that. And it's unadulterated. Meaning, it ain't no place else you're going to turn something on and be worried about whether it's Martin or Living Single or New York Undercover. I got some of y'all watching that stuff now. I know y'all be watching it. Some of y'all even went home early so you wouldn't miss it. Church burnings and stuff on the Fox station. All you need to remember about that is how fast them 2 boys ran back in there when they was holding out. They said, well, we get two new police in here. We don't, it's just a format. We just run an undercover format. Anyway, I appreciate you all coming out. And the suggestion is somebody needs to make an assault on it. And if it doesn't work, make an issue out of it. And that's why I bust on my man, Brother Donald, is for not pressing it on to the next step, to make it an issue. Because you never know, he may fight for something that may help everyone else. And it's got to be a reason that we could use it for. And I can think of some good things we could do with it if we had access to it. And so if we can't get it, then should nobody have it, and we need to make that issue. So when is the next class at Copper State?
I think they do orientations monthly. You don't have to be certified to run programs. You have to be certified to use their equipment.
Okay, we want everything. Shit, the revolution comes, it's ours anyway. So we might as well know how to work it and make you fight for it better. Say, you know, I can work them cameras down at that studio. Revolution came, I at least know I'd be a cameraman. I mean, if you don't see nothing in it, you ain't likely to do it. You can find it. That's why I say Revolution 101 is a theory for doing this, a way to make people want to do it. But, you all heard me do it. So how many of y'all owe white people money? How many of y'all owe white people money now? Yes. Okay. All right. Hey, I appreciate the honesty. Well, what do you think happened when the revolution comes? You think Lathram's gonna come around in your neighborhood looking for some money? Somebody, hey, we lent you some coats and some shoes. We want the money. You think they gonna come looking for some money when the revolution comes? Nah, they out of here. They asking you for a shot. Now just think of all the people who you be working with, who you love to be telling what to do on Monday. And you know they make you mad because on Sunday, you be getting ready for them and shit. You making sandwiches and shit, looking at the clock, little tension in your stomach, you know. Damn, I gotta get in there tomorrow. You know when you go there, you have to suppress ill feelings. Those things make high blood pressure, cancer, colon problems. These come out of suppression of ill feelings. Really, brother, really. Like I say, reality speaks. And so, you know, it probably would be better to think about the whole thing. And it's not a very popular thought. People resist change. Clinton, he campaigned on change. People really wanted some change. It ain't changed nothing. In fact, I didn't count. Clinton run out of planes. One or two more planes and they got his ass. They playing ring around the Clintons. They dropping these planes fast he can get out of them. Oh shit, this shit is deep. And then they say, well, Bubba, what Bubba say, well, what you want me to do? Those blacks. Bubba, you got to go down as the one who finally got rid of them. He said, but I got friends. Got Curtis in Baltimore. We rode scholars together. He said, but, you know, he said, but, is he darker than the vanilla folk? And so they gonna force him to do something. Saw that little white woman on TV. Little white woman, McDougal lady. She said, hey, you know, if they thought I'd fart his name good, they'd get me out of jail. I mean, somebody want him out of there real bad, and he's not listening to who's ever put him there. And Gore is the one they really want. You said Gore is their man. Gore is their man. I'll tell you, Gore is their man. And if they could get Gore and Gendricks, they'd love it, because that's them. That's the Southern line. That's the Mason-Dixie line right there. That's it. Tennessee and Georgia. Shit, they got it going on. And so something is up, and I perceive we probably could be in even greater jeopardy. Now, in a time of great jeopardy, we can send wrong signals. And so we don't want to get caught in a position where we send the wrong signal and they make a reading, the reading affects us adversely, and they attack based upon the perception that everybody got their pants down and we're all weak and just waiting for them to come in and mess us up. Now, I would suggest this. If you would want to tell them, one thing we can tell white man is that he got another white man messing with him. And that white man is on his ass real bad. And I'm proud of the white people for causing trouble with other white people. I'm proud of the Unabomber. I really, the Unabomber is my hero and shit. And I'm going to tell you why he's my hero instead of these other hunkies who did the bombing in Atlanta or in Oklahoma or knocked that Amtrak off in Arizona. I'm going to tell you why I like the Unabomber better. Because the Unabomber knew he wasn't a struggle against certain white men who assist rich white men. Now, he didn't fuck around and accidentally kill no black woman, standing next to no speaker. See, I tell them old right-wing honkies, they call me all the time, if another black person accidentally died while you fucking around trying to get at Clinton, we're going to accidentally start fucking y'all up. And I excuse my language. I really don't need to emphasize it by cussing. But the point of it is that we can't have any more accidental black deaths while the white man is having this problem with the other white man, which is why I admire the Unabomber. He was site-specific. He picked his hunkies. And I mean, he had them on the ropes for a long time. A good, well-educated hunky. The type of betrayal that we need to emphasize and stress. Harvard, Professor, Stanford. That's good shit. And we want them to suspect every other Harvard hunky and every other Stanford hunky that it could be any of them. Yes. And you must perpetrate that. It is very important that you take the psychological advantage that you have and perpetrate it. Hunkies are generally distrustful because they're so damn devious. And so you need to learn how to breathe into that. You need to know how to stand at work and say, hey man, boy, they talked about you yesterday. You need to know how to start going. You need to know how to do something come and make it look like another white person did it. Think about this. No, take the advantage. It's on. It's on. It's on. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'd get the Unabomber out of jail if I could. Really, I would. If I only could. Damn, somebody else I wanted to tell you about I thought was real interesting. Anyway, something was up. When I was in Chicago, boy, they were selling people Democrats. Boy, Jesse Jackson had his barbecues at his backyard and stuff. How was the barbecue? And they were selling Democrats to those black people in Chicago, and I really felt sorry for them, as I heard everybody go Democratic. And it isn't that Clinton might not be better or worse than the next guy, but to sell them, you see, I even had to mess with old Donald, who accidentally insinuated that if only the youth voted, there would not be an attack on black youth. Because that's just not true. Because voting, again, less than 50% of the people do it that have it. And there are only 50% of the people who could. So you talking about 25% of the people stepping up and somebody getting 8 or 9% of that equated as 51 or 52%. You ain't had no landslides in a long time. I think Reagan was only about 61% or something like that. So they always keep it close, not to have any one white. How you gonna have a left arm off? You ever seen anybody lift weights on their left arm and don't do nothing with their right? You ever seen anybody do that? So they got this wimpy little right arm and this big old muscle-bound left. You ever seen anybody do that? No. So you can't put the Republicans down too far and put the Democrats up too high, because then you had this body looking all weird-like. They can't have weird bodies, so they keep pretty much lift them both together. You know, Dole, Clinton are always a margin of percentage away from each other. And I remember back in January, brothers, we were talking about being ahead of stuff. Back in January, I was talking about election 96, is the ballot of the bullet. And that was just as relevant now as it was then, because, look, if I was from Is It Real, I mean, I look at this last guy, Satan Nephew. What's his name? Satan Nephew? Satan Nephew? I kind of dig. He is the first leader in the history of assassination whose member murdered the leader and they took immediate control. I'm going to repeat that again. When they killed Harold Washington, Daley, who helped kill him, used Sawyer as the way station. When they killed John Kennedy, they used LBJ as the way station. It was Nixon then, Nixon then. They used him as a way station. Nobody ever used a member to kill a man and then went out in an election and won it. Nobody ever been that bold in the history of government. You never take the seat after the murder. Grace period. Nobody moves anyway. Because that's where you get your suspects at. People who move heavily and taking advantage of another person's grief. And so now you got a situation where this boy just the other side, they say, well, you know, Rabin's side didn't win the election. Well, you done won. Everybody come see you, want a place in your one thing. You ain't got to, you tell all your election people, go home. You bring them in the government. They get jobs, get contracts, consult, go teach someone else based on the experience, your winning experience. So he disbands his election coalition and goes into the governing coalition. The other guy had the rabbi go out, now y'all got to watch the role of mysticism. Rabbi goes out and issues a ruling that if this man ain't killed within 30 days, the spirit of some evil demon-ass Satan shit gonna come and fuck up Israel. He did that. And you all don't believe me because they tried to charge the rabbi with a crime and he got off on religious exemption. That he had the right to say that God told him that Rabin had to die for the good of the country. And they killed him on the 29th day. And the boy, I read all the Jewish papers, the Jewish Weekly, the Jewish Star, the Jerusalem Star, the Forward, and there's enough story just in the Forward. Why is the boy Amir a hero in Israel? He's a hero. So when old boy sits down with Arafat last week, and the shit is on, The oil shit is cooking, gas going up. See, fuck all the bullshit. You know how you translate this way. Gas up, milk is down, deliveries ain't moving, something up. It's eerie and weak for you. It's less than for you. You pay more. But they be creating phony stuff so fast they can't even finish one trick. Clinton's man. How many of y'all saw the story in the Star about this dude there? I just read the story yesterday in the Star about this dude, the Clinton's man, Morris. Morris the cat. Morris the cat. Morris the cat. Morris got caught with the cat. Now, brothers, this should show you something about the danger of sex. Now, I'm going to tell you, brothers, I'm talking to you brothers. This should show you something about the danger of sex. I travel a lot. Sex be all up on me. Somewhere in there are bad people. If it's not right, it's not right with none of them. But brothers, you can see what one woman could do to just one man who was influencing many men. The man who made the man, he made him on family values. Yeah. He out on the balcony butt naked. And if you've seen the Star, how many of y'all seen the Star? Because I just read the thing. How many of y'all seen, oh, you got to check this shit. He's sitting on the balcony with her naked. They hugging. He looking up right in the camera. The Star got a hidden camera. The girl tipped them all before they even went to the hotel room. Gets in the hotel room right on the balcony. He out on the balcony with her naked. He's looking up real weird, looking all into the camera. And it says, it's 12:53. Morris looks into the Star's hidden camera. And they have time in him. Then he goes back and come out in robes and shit. Then they show her sitting there reading Miss Clinton's speech before the convention, because it's 4 days before the convention. They got a clock. They got all these pictures with clocks on them. At 10:02, he walks out the hotel. They got him in the front. He got a meeting with Clinton at 10:30. That's some heavy shit. But that's about sex. That's about sex. And that's something you got to pick up on, Bloods. You got to pick up on the power of sex. And the power she got over him. Go back one. What we just leave out of? It's probably the same person keep getting away from me. I know they're in the rotation tonight. Anyway, they'll come back. Every time that come up, the spirit try to kick them back.
Gary Hart?
Huh? Oh yeah, they got Gary Hart too. That one woman sitting on his lap and alive was enough to knock him. Of course, to knock him is the goal. You can get a soft knock or you can get a hard-ass knock. Clinton getting ready to get one of them hard-ass knocks because he ain't taking the soft knock. Bird? Oh yeah, they got him too. That's another. Oh, you see, you know he wanted that really bad. You know he didn't want that pipe. He looked at that pipe apple. Hey, you do this. Don't make me do this. But I do it for some sex. You know? Yeah. Yeah. But sex had a lot of power in the New World Order. I mean, you gotta pick up. You want, huh?
Packwood.
Packwood, he got it too. Evidently, they wanted him out of there for some reason. They worked his ass over, and they got him all on tape. That's one thing you learn about being a congressman is there are 10, 12 FBI assigned to you personally.
Mel Reynolds.
Staff, Mel Reynolds was a freak when they hired him. He was. Gus Savage stood up and said, you have hired a pervert. They didn't want to believe Gus. That'd be a good person to get around, too, to hear Speaker Baltimore, Gus Savage. Yeah, here's the man coined the phrase, Ron Beige. Ron Brown kicked his ass.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Dick Gregory had picked up on this, and it's valid. This was even before Morris went down. He said, think back about the people who were the people who made people. You had Atwater was the man who was doing, who'd he do? Who's Atwater? Reagan Bush, man. He dies of cancer, 40-something, right? Ron Brown do Clinton. Boom, he go down. Morris replace him. Boom, he go down. Not physically, but he's out the box. Well, I guess he got a book deal. But he got a Murdoch book deal, and that's important because Murdoch are them same people that put out them stars and stuff be Murdoch anyway. Some of you want to say something? Oh, I thought I was your hand up. I'm sorry. I'm with you. I heard you. I didn't mean to talk out loud. There we go. So we can see that this is a powerful motivation. And when I was in Chicago, I just saw a lot of people do a lot of things I know they didn't believe in. You know, Sharpton was having the cash to check movement, and they gave it no play in the press. Y'all heard about that cash to check? Yeah, they wanted to. They told the Democrats that they wanted cash to check. They had been supporting them for so long. They wanted cash to check. And well, don't ask me what I thought about it, but Sharpton is an interesting guy. I worked with Sharpton in New York over the Time Warner thing, and you might have heard us one night on the Bob Law show. Maddox and Sharpton in the studio and myself from Silver Spring. Asking Bob Law about a person he created in the middle of a fight with a white corporation. He created a white woman named Beth Gillespie and made her the bottom of all problems in an issue that she wasn't even involved in, and it was suspicious behavior. And he used the radio to perpetrate the suspicious behavior. And Sharpton was very assistful in using his leverage. But when he got to Chicago, they had about 300 people at the demonstration. And the Chicago media gave more play to a demonstration of 14 people, led by one of them hunky Chicago Conspiracy Sevens, walked on the offices of Carol Moseley Braun downtown. They gave that play, big play for 18 people walking on her because they want to penalize her. They want to punish her for going to Nigeria and doing something they tell you to do. They tell you to be something. They never expect you to be it for yourself. So they are beating on her all up in the convention. But in the meantime, they disrespect this little protest that they have cash to check. And they disproportionately gave attention to weaker protests. And you know, at these conventions, they have what they call protest areas, little bullpens and fences on the movement to even get unacceptable. And that brings us to another point. Acceptable black behavior. It appears as if that somehow, I don't know. Maybe everything's all right. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe everything's really all right. Right? I mean, I might be facetious or something, thinking that maybe something's wrong. Maybe everything's really all right. Everybody's having a great time. I know when I was in Chicago, they had festivals. Every 20 blocks there was a festival. People was just so happy. Shit was going so bad, they were so happy. There was a festival. Every 20 blocks there was a famous black singer. I mean, huge speakers and shit, free food, exhibits, vendors, every 20 blocks. Stanley Turrentine be on 71st and Betty Carter be on 57th. B.B. King be on 37th. I mean, I'm telling you, and didn't nobody leave their area. And that brings me to another subject too about these lectures. We shouldn't have, there's time for at-large lectures. But I'd like to know, and some of you all are interested who would like to work on a lecture like this, I'd like to start having zone lectures. Really take out an area of the town and say, well, okay, we're going to put the flyers out door to door from here to there. And we're going to do this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we're going to come back another week, and we're going to go door to door, there to there, and we're going to have a lecture for them. Everybody can come, but this is a lecture to help them. And zone down some lectures and actually go out there and start helping the people who we claim we represent and want to help. They're out there. They never know us. They wouldn't know us from shit to Shinola. Steve Coakley wouldn't mean shit to them. They could go past everyone's place or see me standing there selling a tape, and they'd have no need for it. It would be irrelevant. And somehow, what really got me was when the welfare thing went down, all these people come out like they was for welfare people. Oh, it's terrible what they do in the welfare. All they're worried about is somebody gonna steal their stuff. Oh, damn. Anyway, so all people worried about is whether somebody gonna steal their stuff. And they don't know welfare people. They just hurt for welfare people but don't know none. They ain't tried to help them any kind of way. And so it's kind of like the poor becomes something everybody use. And I don't know if you saw the little article in the Post a week ago. They mimicked the fact that at the Democratic Convention, one word you were not to mention was poor. Because no longer were they appealing to the poor. The poor was out of the equation. It was no longer a poor strategy. There was no program for the poor. There was no poor pacification. And there was no poor protest. Protest was about cashing a check. Anyway, so something's up, something's on, and somehow some of these things have to do with death, power of death. One of the things I wanted to make clear that was on the flyer was a discussion about the last days of Martin King. And having watched Jesse leave Washington, having been a shadow senator, successfully securing D.C. with a financial control board, Marion Barry's in Chicago having a reception, the control board's interviewing superintendents for schools. Something funny happened there. Oh, in fact, you know, I need to tell you one of the biggest things. I guess you all got the voucher thing going on up in here. Y'all got some voucher thing going on in
They
here?
come on school choice.
Huh?
School choice.
Oh, school choice.
Allegedly.
Y'all, it's on, y'all.
They don't know. They don't know. No, they don't know.
They want to try.
No, it's on because I'm reading in the Jewish paper that it's on in 20 schools and how the Jewish people had a front page story about how honorable Kurt Smoke was for his Cleveland and Baltimore got it going on right now.
They don't know. They don't read.
Oh, no, and I'm reading in the Jewish paper how happy they are with Smoke for successfully putting it in 20 schools. Oh, anyway, I'm sorry.
They don't know anybody else.
Anyway, as I watched the Democratic Convention and I saw the Jackson family, and I thought about all the people that had to die to make that day possible, for them to be there, to have the privilege to speak. A lot of people had to die because to really make room on this planet for the people who chose to run it, certain types of personalities could not be tolerated. I challenge you to spend a little time and go back, and I'm going to even tighten this a little tighter up ahead as I go and get some of the people who were around during those days about Martin King. And probably, and we may have really missed it, in the perpetration of certain aspects of his life, usually the earlier aspects of his life, we may have missed a revolutionary moment. And on April 4th of 67, he made a speech against the war in Vietnam. And I'd like any of you, if you get a chance to go back and find that speech and listen to it, you'd find it especially interesting how he described the role of the U.S. government in undermining other countries. I mean, there was some depth of insight there, and he also knew that probably as the most wired man in Black America, meaning that he was most proudly an Alpha, he was very proudly a Sigma Pi Phi Boule man, he was very proudly a Baptist preacher, and these are fraternities. And he was very proudly a Mason. But to go against the war was to break the bounds of the binds that those organizations put upon the members in their patriotic support of the white man, which facilitates their existence. Just imagine, look, I just want y'all to pick up on this. Any organization, how many, and I don't want to put nobody on spot about your fraternity, but anybody know how many brothers are in their fraternity? How many there are? Is there thousands, hundreds of thousands? Huh? Hundreds of thousands. Now the question will become, when have the white men not broken up organizations of black men when they saw them coagulate in hundreds of thousands? It's not very, they do not appear. When I go into COINTELPRO, I don't see a file in there on black Greeks suggesting that if they only broke them up, they would stop black progress or black power. Though in black Greeks there's expressions of black power and black power activity. One of the more interesting things Greek organizations that bring Brother Copley to their campuses, even though that in the discussion, they know certain things are going to come in the public that may make them look less popular in the public. To advance the knowledge which they deem as true, they'll take the lessening. But that's the weight of the information. But Martin King broke the bounds when he made this move against the war. And there was this memo. You all remember this memo that was supposedly put out that was supposed to be picking a person to replace Martin King. There was a memo. Anybody know when that memo came out? There was a memo saying that we need someone to replace Martin King, someone of a compelling personality. Anybody remember that? No.
It's Baltimore, so you read from.
It was the FBI memo written by William Sullivan. And William Sullivan died one weekend while he was testifying before the Senate committee that revealed COINTELPRO, the church committee hearings. He was out hunting. They mistaked him for a deer. Sam Giancana, I've been reading the book Momo Giancana because I've been in Chicago and I know the only way they're going to get rid of Sun Daly is to go back and to show that the Daly dynasty was built in a relationship flunkying for the mafia. Okay. And that Tony Accardo and Sam Giancana ran Flunky Daly like Meyer Lansky and Costello and the others ran Gay Edgar Hoover. To the point he couldn't see mafia. He didn't know what it was. He was aghast when it was revealed by the boy Valachi that there was a Cosa Nostra or organized outfit. He was stunned and he had to go out and investigate before he said there was one when they had him wearing women's clothes up here in Plimlico. Meyer Lansky giving him tips on horses dressed up in women's clothes. Right here in Baltimore, one of his favorite tracks. Come up here dressed up like a but a man dressed as a woman had more credibility against a man sleeping with a woman. Who's that?
He married his sister like that.
Dennis who? Hey, he's made an industry for himself. But he is no different than Elijah Wan or Ewing or Iverson or Jordan. We see none of them. The only one I saw was my man who they kicked out. They kicked him out, Craig Hodges. Kicked him right out. That's the only one I've seen. Anyway. Right. No, I don't know. Well, that's interesting too, though. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, they got the mafia. I want you to you got to pay attention to the mafia a little bit. There's mafia in Baltimore. There's big mafia in Baltimore. But you don't act like there's no mafia in Baltimore. There's no mafia issue in Baltimore. But you know the markets, the harbors of mafia, the rail yards of mafia, the wholesale markets of mafia, all the constructions of mafia. Show you right. The trucking, the union boys are still mafia.
Port Authority?
Port Authority, yeah, that's the harbor. That Port Authority is mafia. And Kurt Smoke know who the mafia is. I bet he has dinner with him once or twice a month. Just to make sure he doesn't mess right. Sister said better, make sure he don't mess with no mafia stuff. If the CIA was moving the drugs, who you think they used to sell it to the boys? The mafia. They don't sell it to them. CIA don't get in the car, leave Langley and drive to Baltimore and sell it to the youth. They got their boys who put the jukeboxes and the liquor in the taverns. Put the beer, the 40s in the little grocery stores. Make the grocery store owner buy from Standard Brands, get his supplies. Or even the Chinese boys. It's Chinese mafia. Korean mafia.
Russians have moved in.
Only one ain't got one. No, ain't got no mafia. We ain't got no mafia.
The Jamaican mob.
Right. Even the Roscoe's got a mafia. Sister, you want to be in my mafia? Sister, you want to be in my mafia?
No, I got my own here.
Well, look,
all
sister,
the people.
You
They're
got,
mine.
They're yours?
I want you to know it.
All right, well, we'll form an alliance, sister. Your
No,
people.
we ain't gonna form nothing because you don't even know why.
All right, well, I'll remain mystified.
Hypnotized.
That's right. Check.
Check.
Why did I do that?
Why did you do it?
Why did I do that? That must mean that was Martin King calling me saying, get that, Steve, I told you to tell my story. Now get your ass out here and tell my story. So I can tell you who did it. All right, let me go back. Thank you, Martin. Teach. That's right, sister. So Martin wanted me to know that he went through great pressure. He went through great pressure when he came out against the war. And in a better circumstance, you would hear, you need to hear, sometimes public PFW, the public broadcasting plays a lot around Martin King time. I got some copies of it. I can make it available for you with no charge. It's just an important thing to hear. In January of '67, Martin King had felt he had seen so many poor people in the South. I mean, really poor people. And you know what? They're still down there. I mean, really poor people. Yes. He saw so many poor people in the South, he wanted them to come to Washington and just sit down. In fact, it's really a good idea still. And I know how much they hate it. He said if we could just take these poor people and let them sit down in Washington, every day they spent money on them bombs, they'd have to look out the window and see these poor people out here suffering. Maybe their consciences will give in and know that the guns over butter was killing the people. He said, you're going to kill the nation. I ain't into the nation, but it's dead. It is dead. It is the walking dead. And in January of '67, you got to go back and check. Hit the index on the New York Times, January of '67. I need you to find for me the story on the New York Times does the first national story on Jesse Jackson. New York Times, January of '67. This is a very strategic moment. January of '67. And in that article, the New York Times swears that this is the man of all men. This is the man that's really more than Martin King. Now, when Martin comes out and announces he's going to bring poor people to Washington in January, and then he announces against the war in April 4th of '67. When did he die?
April 4th of '68.
Now, you think somebody was playing with him? You think that military-industrial complex? Wow. I'm probably going to get my teeth fixed. Do you think that military-industrial complex was playing games by killing them 1 year to the day he announces on them? I mean, could it have just been an accident, a coincidence? But the media, I want you to go back and check the press. Even in that new book on Jesse, there's a quote in there from Jackie Jackson. I thought it was intrigued that Jackie gave this quote. She says the press was beating the shit out of Martin King. He was being castigated in the media for making this revolutionary stand against the war, and he was troubled by it. This is the media that had touted him as high up as the Peace Prize. Now had turned on him as he wasn't towing the line at a time. Now, one thing I know about the Boule, that in times of war, the Boule are depended upon to pump the patriotic song called America, World War I. Du Bois wrote the famous editorial. Huh? Closing ranks. There you go, Baba. Closing ranks. Saying, and everybody misquotes this phrase, let there be no division or color line between us. You all thought he meant don't let no white man be doing nothing against no black people. It was about you blacks, don't let what the whites have done to you all your life stop you from defending this white man who will bring you freedom soon as you come home. That was a Boule project. We have just dug up military intelligence file on the Boule. Ooh, it's sweet. Oh, Boule just had their convention. You know, last convention was in Baltimore. Most of you didn't come. Brother David came. Brother Donald came. Few came. And then it was just in Houston, and we just stole the 1997 Boule Historical Directory. This is the names of every Boule, ever been a Boule in history with nice profiles. We just got videotapes, we got minutes of the meetings, we got good Boule stuff just come out of the Houston convention. Very important material. And I know you'll be interested, but one of the things that we ended up digging up was the Boule file in military intelligence. Back when WOL did the Memphis Commercial Appeal story, very significant, because when I went back and pulled that story up, one thing that story does is say the U.S. Army had absolutely nothing to do with the killing of Martin King, and that's how they start off revealing all this information. Now, the reason I bring that up is because sometimes when these stories come out, they what we call limited fallout. There's a big revelation on the horizon, and before it comes, the enemy reveals half of it, hoping that the whole revelation won't be asked for. So you got the Memphis Commercial Appeal story gives us some insights on spying on Martin King's daddy, spying on Martin King, the role of military intelligence, Von de Man, 1917, against Marcus Garvey, and on up. And WOL spent a whole month on that with Dick Gregory and Mark Lane, and they were interviewing people involved in the Martin King assassination and stuff. But I went back and read it as I was doing this research on the last days of Martin King and found it extremely insufficient. I went back and looked up the best books on the King assassination. Mark Lane and Dick Gregory's book, Codename Zorro, and the updated version. There was some missing was out of there. A key day was missing. You need to remember this day, March 30th, 1968. That was the last meeting Martin had with his staff. That was the Saturday before he was murdered. He called all his staff down to Atlanta for a meeting at Ebenezer Baptist Church because he felt there was disunity being perpetrated on the staff by James Bevel and Jesse Jackson. James Bevel and Jesse Jackson were telling Martin King he can't go to Washington in the summer because he can't control his people. Jesse Jackson took over the meeting, standing all on the tables, telling Martin King what will happen if the white man doesn't give us press? What would happen if this doesn't play big? We'll lose our face. And Martin turns to Abernathy and says, look at them, worried about a face. I'm not in this for my face. I feel for those poor people. These two men don't believe in what we're doing. Yes. I said Steve? Oh, D. Okay. Yes, brother.
Was that on Eyes of the Prize? I think it was like a video footage.
I'm going to tell you what I need. I have not went back to review the Eyes on the Prize. I have not had a chance to see the piece that Frontline did on Jesse. There was a piece they did on Jesse back in January. Anybody get it? Need it on video. Nobody got it. I've been in 8 cities and nobody even got it. Nobody saw it even. Anybody remember it? Frontline did a whole piece on Jesse, but it had some interesting pressure in there about the assassination on him. Questions. He's never answered for any book questions about the assassination, and this white boy that just did this book on him called Jesse interviewed him, and in the interview he asked him, he says how Jesse got all chilled and got all spastic and refused to answer key questions related to what was happening around the assassination, and there are very good reasons for that. Because it's really an uninvestigated cesspool. I also need the Fox special. James Earl Jones hosted a Fox special on the Martin King assassination, and they interviewed the people who saw the people who did the shooting from down, shooting up at Martin King, sending him up and back like that, and down on the floor of the balcony. It's in that, the 2 black men that were interviewed, who got that? I need to look at it. If you could get a copy or make arrangements with Damo, because I need to find, one of the pleasures of research is picking up the phone and calling the people that you see in the books. I see Fontroy on the Georgia Avenue Day Parade as he's coming by on the float. Fontroy, you were at that meeting March 30th, 1968 with Martin King. I got to talk to you. He said, I was there. Give me a call. That's right. The information is sitting there. Now, they set Fontroy's ass down a little while back, brought up some tax shit from 10 years ago, just to set him down as it looked like he was disrupting a little bit around Eleanor Holmes Norton, who was brought here from New York with Jackson, both Rockefeller agents, to destabilize D.C.
They don't get it.
They don't get it, but they need to. She didn't file taxes for 8 years during the campaign for a mayor. She is revealed not to have filed taxes for 8 years. They say, okay, go file.
Husband.
Only person ever been treated like that was Jesse Jackson. Immune from prosecution. But that's not my point, because the proof is in the conclusion, not the allegation. Shit fucked up, and there ain't nobody trying to bring everybody in on make it any better. You ain't seen Marion Barry one time convene activists, Greek, and he called for every Greek organization to come to D.C. and help him clean up, do something to protect D.C. and make it black run again. The world would answer. He ain't never made the call.
Right.
He ain't never called religious leaders. He ain't never called community organizers. He ain't never called garbage men. He ain't never called nobody to come and help him do anything. And nothing is going on. Nothing is going on. But he ain't never made the call for the help. Smoke don't feel like he having no problems up here. He think everything going swell. His opposition is little agitator white groups who report to other whites who agitate them back until they get what they want.
He don't even live in the city.
All whites have to be satisfied.
He don't even live in the city.
I don't care where he lives. No, I mean, I don't care if he's legal, illegal, I don't care. He got to have police on him all day, all night, and that's their requirement, not his. They got to make sure he's nowhere where they ever don't know where he's at. Having worked for a mayor, I've seen them when they said, well, this is, you got to take Bill Baluki. He got to be on the bodyguard detail. Said, for what? Said, because that's the man's man. And he got the vow that he went where he's supposed to go. So you look up, everybody on the detail belong to somebody who's plugged into where everybody's at. Because ain't nobody allowed to be on the scene without somebody knowing where they're at. And so there's some high fatality rate to people who make the men who make men. I don't know what's up with that, but... So Martin had made this call. Now, Martin, you got to go check this out. Martin King in '67 felt like SCLC was on the way out. He said, look, he said, in Chicago, Mayor Daley and them down there broke my back. I got hit in the head with that rock. He said, them honkies in Cicero and Marquette Park in Chicago are worse than any white man I met in the South. Yep. He tell you that shit straight up. And it was right there that he said that SCLC went on the blink. Anybody want any tapes and stuff? It's self-service. Anyway, so he said, hey, I lost out in Chicago, so I better go for broke. I'm going to shoot my guns. We better go for the whole shebang or we can drop SCLC. He was in the mode of desperation, and he felt like Chicago in '66 was Waterloo. But the key thing is, go back and look at how he failed in Chicago in '66. His agent in Chicago, named Jesse Jackson, got on all the media and said, Martin King's coming in here for a major demonstration, and it's going to be violence. And Martin had even made a commitment to come to Chicago at all. That's why when they got there, they got beat so bad because they weren't organized to be there. So they suffered from lack of organization. I remember my daddy wanted me to go to a Martin King speech at Soldiers Field where the Bears played Dallas last week. My daddy's from Alabama. He wanted to go there real bad. I was 14 years old. I demanded, it was my birthday, to go to see the White Sox play Kansas City Athletics on a doubleheader at White Sox Park to give you a free bet. And instead of going to that Martin King speech, my daddy took me to that ball game. And I never forget how hurt he was that he didn't go to that speech. But if only I had went. Because if you go back to that moment, you will see that before Martin goes up to give his speech, Jesse Jackson gets up and gives the I Have a Dream speech all over again, only as himself. Announces that he has the plan for the direction of SCLC. Announces that he's got the new direction, that he said, I don't care who you hear from today, just remember, you heard it from me. One of them real weird things. Yeah, one of them Malik, somebody said. So everybody on the staff was stunned. Why did Jesse front Martin off like that? And so Martin was pissed. Only one of a series of piss to Jesse. In fact, When all those articles came out, when Martin King died, the press was against him till the day he died. After his death, the day after he died, 114 stories. Jesse Jackson is the main man for the future of black people. He's the heir apparent to Martin King. He got the blood of Martin King on his shirt. He was the last man to speak to Martin King. 114 stories promoting that positively about Jesse Jackson. By 1973, he had been on 1,500 talk shows. Had been the front page cover of 37 major magazines. He was 6th in the pecking order. He wasn't even 2nd, Abernathy. He wasn't 3rd, Andy. He wasn't 4th, Hosea. Even Bevel, the one who brought him. In 1965, James Bevel, and this is weird because as you look at Bevel today, a hole for the LaRoches. He doesn't have the persona that he had in the 60s when he was doing the SCLC in Chicago, and he brings Jesse into the organization. In 65, go back and look. Andy says, when Jesse shows up in Selma, strange young man, instead of getting in line, he's lining people up. Instead of kneeling for the prayer, he's standing up giving it. He said then after he makes these demonstrations down there auditioning to be on the staff, he turns to Martin and says, you got to give me a job. And Martin sends him to Andy, and Andy's befuddled by the wind of this man all up on them, demanding to be the man next to the man. You'll feel motion, you'll feel weight. But what's key is that he was pretending to be Martin all the way from 1963. Gotta go back and check. 1963, he's at North Carolina A&T. Allegedly, he's a student leader, demonstrations and stuff. But when they come, down to,
I got the book over there, bro.
oh, I got it right here, Bob. I would show it all to y'all, but I left my overhead at home, which was really a major sin. I really feel sorry that I didn't have it. Let's do it, show it just like this. And that's the memo. Check this out. This is in the book Jesse, page 176. It's also in Barbara Reynolds' book. I got the passage in her book, The Man, the Myth, and the Movement, right here, page 38. And the section deals with this. How Jesse got to Martin in 65 and to be in SCLC in Chicago had to do with Samuel Proctor, who was the head man at North Carolina A&T, eventually the main pastor at Abyssina Baptist Church in New York. In fact, he gave way to Calvin Butts. But he was head of North Carolina A&T from 60 to 64 when Jesse is there. It's very significant to pick up on how this works. In the book, they're talking about the students. They interviewed the students who were involved in the demonstrations that were promoted in the Greensboro Daily that gave Jesse's rise as a civil rights leader. And it says, you can imagine the tension among those guys who were sweating through a movement long before him, said Stanley. Now Jesse was showing up in photos out front, looking good. We began to swear that Jesse was showing up in the Greensboro Daily even when he was not present. He would be in the picture, and we say, quote, but he wasn't even there. Suggestion, possibility, that the Greensboro Daily in 63 had some sense of urgency about making a man a leader, for he was needed for a special project. Thanks, you're a fireman, brother. Go ahead, I can give you some money. I can get somebody and get another. Just some more water? Thanks, brother. And suggestion, 63, some promotion. Now, then when the students get on him for not being at the demonstrations, all of a sudden he gets arrested. Big in Greensboro, Jesse gets arrested. He submits himself to the police. When he gets in jail, all of a sudden 10,000 flyers go out entitled, "Your great leader has been arrested." Well, the word great, even at this point in his life, is suspect. He still ain't great. I don't know what great do, but we're in a hell of a jam. I don't know how great that is. But I know he's living good now. He's doing good. Living large.
Prosper. Never
Yeah.
had a job.
I know you better stop talking about my relative.
About your who?
My relative.
That's your relative?
That's right.
Well, sister, it's about to get worse.
He don't want to overshadow me. That's why he's working with the farmers and the workers.
That's right.
And I'm taking care of the rest.
That's FBI farm.
I told you, you don't even know one.
I know, sister. I'm going to remain a mystery.
Good.
That's right.
And I'm
You
gonna
just
make
aching me
one
to ask, and I ain't
till
going
you
to ask.
find out.
I ain't going to ask you when it's over.
It's already over.
Now, listen up. So now, the FBI, oh yeah, same people. Jesse puts his flyer out, 10,000 flyers. Your great leader has been arrested. Then, it says here, he's in jail, and he writes from the jail the letter from the Greensboro jail. Now, the letter from the Greensboro jail should strike you because that's repetitious of Martin's famous letter from the Birmingham jail during the Birmingham demonstrations. So, emulating Martin before he ever met him, he starts doing Martin-like things. He's suspiciously being promoted in the Greensboro Daily. In fact, Barbara Reynolds says, on that fact, she says this, page 38. There have been other published accounts that claim Jesse led the demonstrations in Greensboro that desegregated the main library and restaurants. However, a search of police reports, interviews with the attorneys who handled the desegregation cases revealed that there was no record of Jackson ever even being jailed in Greenville. Relatives said Jackson was away in school during the Greenville protest move. But one of the things he promoted himself as was that person. Anyway, but now we look over at Samuel Proctor, and Proctor was going to school with Martin King at Boston University. Proctor's a Catholic, big boule man as well. Proctor says, he's telling Jesse, you need to be like Martin King. He knows of Martin King because he done went to school with him at Boston. He's the head of AT&T, and he arranges for Jesse to get a grant from the Rockefeller Foundation to go to the Chicago School of Theology, which is a division of the Rockefeller-created University of Chicago. That's how Jesse ends up out of North Carolina in Chicago. The Rockefeller Foundation brought him there. And it was a choice whether he would go with Governor Stanford of North Carolina, who had taken him to the Democratic Convention as a young Democrat in Las Vegas. So Jesse was tempted to want to go and be with Governor Stanford, but they decided that he needed to be in Chicago with the Rockefeller Foundation grant, one of only 25 black students to get such a grant. Now, the FBI in '63 writes a memo that's dated early '64, and they're talking about the need to create someone to replace Martin King when the time is right. And it talks about the development of such a person and what type of person they would need. This is written by William Sullivan, and it says this. He was deputy director of the FBI. To whom? It should be clear to all of us. This is written in, it says, we met in December 9th of '63. We finalized what was in the memo, that we would do this. We wrote the memo January 8th, '64. We met for months during '63 deciding who the person would be. It says, it should be clear to all of us that Martin King must, at some propitious point in the future, be revealed to the people of this country and to his Negro followers as being what he actually is, a fraud, a demagogue, a scoundrel. When the true facts concerning his activities are presented, such should be enough, if handled properly, to take him off his pedestal and reduce him completely in influence. When this is done, and it can be done, and it will be done, obviously much confusion will reign, particularly among the Negro people. The Negroes will be left without a national leader of sufficiently compelling personality. That's the key word. Sufficient, compelling person, not skills, not a believer. A compelling personality. That's one thing he always had. To steer them in the proper direction. This is what could happen, but need not happen if the right kind of national Negro leader at this time be gradually developed so as to overshadow Dr. King and be in the position to assume the role of the leadership of the Negro people when King has been completely discredited. For months, I've been thinking about this matter. One day, I had the opportunity to explore this from a philosophical and sociological standpoint with an acquaintance whom I've known for some years. I asked him, give the matter some attention, and if he knew of any Negro of outstanding intelligence and ability, let me know, and we would have a discussion. He submitted to me the name of the above captioned person. Enclosed with this memorandum is an outline of the person's biography, which is truly remarkable for a man so young. On scanning this biography, it will be seen that he does have all the qualifications of the kind of Negro leader I have in mind to advance to position of national leadership. If this can be set up properly, without the Bureau in any way becoming directly involved, I think it would not only be a great help to the FBI, but it would be a fine thing for the country at large. Finalized January 8, 64. Now, when they were pressed about who was this person, the FBI said, this is the weekend, see, Sullivan testified like on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then he went to Canada to hunt Saturday and Sunday. Was going to retestify on Tuesday. So on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, Sullivan tells them that the person was, what's his name? Samuel Pierce. Now you all know who Samuel Pierce is? Who is he?
Former Secretary of State.
Under
Ronald Reagan.
Under Ronald Reagan, correct. He was the top black Republican in what we call the Negro or white-like Negro slot. Cisneros, Kemp, white-like Negro. So you had him. Pierce was Secretary of Housing, and they had a big scandal all under him, but they had alleged that Pierce was the person. Pierce was nowhere near the black community. He wasn't in the black movement. He wasn't near nothing. The only one that was moving, you know, you got him. If Satan Nephew did not run for office, you wouldn't know he was in on the assassination. He was there ready to capitalize because he knew prior knowledge of the death, so they were better prepared. So knowing prior knowledge that Martin was going to be killed, he was obsessed with the journey. Go back and look at everyone who meets Jesse on the road to being with Martin. Said he was uneasy with Martin. Every book. He was always had to pick Martin up at the airport. The night Martin dies, Martin is leaning over to tell Jesse, you can go to a meeting that he hadn't said Jesse could come to, and Jesse says, I already got myself invited to that meeting, my man.
I read the book he's saying Jesse put it together.
No, he didn't put it together. It was a dinner for Martin at Reverend Kyle's place. Reverend Kyle got millions of dollars worth of grants right after Martin died, too. But my point there is that there was movement prior to the death. And I remember being in Chicago in '68, and Martin died in April. Robert Kennedy was killed in June of '68. And those boys were going to try to take the Democratic Party from Humphrey and the rest of them. And I remember Jesse going around the black community in Chicago with the no vote signs all over the black community with the Blackstone Rangers, which was called then Jeff Ford. In fact, Jesse's brother today is in jail for some murders he committed with Jeff Ford, the Blackstone Rangers, because they didn't demolish, tore down their headquarters, and this was the big gang thing in Chicago. And Charles Percy, who was a white Republican, W. Clement Stone, who was a white Republican philanthropist. You said that long little, you remember him, don't you, sister? Had that long little twisted, I know you do, baby. Had that long twisted mustache and stuff. I'll wake y'all up because y'all sleeping. Had that long twisted mustache. The Rockefeller Foundation, the Rand Corporation, the Brookings Institute, They went up there in the University of Chicago and demanded that them gang boys have a presence in Hyde Park, which is the area in Chicago where the University of Chicago is at, and then on into Woodline, which was the adjoining neighborhood which University of Chicago now owns, but only after they instigated the gangs in the 294 unanswered fires that burned down the housing that then made the whites' reclamation of the land possible. But Jesse stood on the tables and threatened Mayor Daley that if he didn't help them gang boys, he was going to tear up Chicago. And they did the no vote thing. But if Martin King had lived, he'd have to spend the summer with Martin King in Washington. This time he got a chance to do something that helped Nixon. Kind of strange he could stand at the Democratic Convention and forget the day he helped elect the opposition party. When he wasn't Democrat or Republican, he was on a mission. Okay? And so now that he's well situated, now he has to sell his situation to the rest of you. But it's based upon a murder. Now every time they get to acting up, as I said earlier, I was telling people, you ever heard Jesse Jackson come out and show his FBI file? You ever heard of assassination attempt on Jesse? The only time he almost got assassinated was when the minister went out there and defended him when his campaign was going on for president. And it was at the Jews against Jackson, or whatever that was they had going on. The FBI, nobody else evidence showed up to have to protect him from anybody. In fact, you even heard him say, you heard what he said about what really he's scared of. What is he really scared of? What did he say when he lived in D.C. he was really afraid of?
Black youth.
Right, he was afraid of a black man walking down the street on the opposite side of the street. I know when you live like that, that fear, you can feel that fear in other people. Since I don't live like that, when I see them, I think of allies and friends. I don't feel threatened when I see that. I feel supported. I see a bunch of hunkies, I feel threatened. I mean, not really, but you know what I mean. You know, 1 to 10, that's fair.
Outnumbered. They only fighting gangs just like y'all do.
That's right, sister. But now, this is the 90s, and we on with guerrilla warfare, baby. It's guerrilla warfare. Like when you walk up out of here, it could happen any minute. That's what we in on. So you have to be careful. It's a rough thing. Yeah, don't play around. Not these days. I know I would too, sister. I'll be trying. Look, if we catch long enough and open up everybody's stuff, we might catch the FBI here tonight. They got in here about how they used to disrupt the meetings and shit. Well, searching long enough, we don't catch them. I better go on. Martin said, you better go on. You're getting close. Martin King said he wouldn't want you to forget. He wouldn't want you to forget. Martin King said he wouldn't want you to forget. Bye-bye, sister. We appreciate y'all. We appreciate y'all. Thank you, sister. We appreciate you, sister. Get some vitamin B. Vitamin B. Yeah, you all got to know. I mean, if it's not obstinate, it could be imbalanced. So sometimes you have to pay attention to. In stressful times, people do all sorts of things, and you need to pay attention to what vitamins can do when people become imbalanced. Sometimes it's just a chemical thing. So you have to look at it. Anytime somebody tells me somebody crazy, I go to talk to them in a minute. I don't feel alienated because they said I was crazy. So you can see how crazy I am. But the point of it is that we have to, not even do that to each other. But sometimes you also got to play with the line, see what kind of fish you got too. Sometimes you don't know if this is a fish or it's another fish. Now you got to jiggle the line a little bit and see how bad the fish want to bite. Now, as soon as we escalate it to the level, you better look out. Some shit could break out right out front. So see, you gotta pick up on the language. Now, if the lecture was really good, I couldn't read. Not at this point. I mean, not that it's anything. But you know what I mean? This wouldn't be the time to break. I've been there a lot of times, I tell you. That's all right, though. That's the way it goes. If you're going to be out here, you got to deal with it. And if you deal with it with humor, it'll make no stress out of you. You won't be living a short life all stressed out for some shit you never saw materialize. And that's another thing, too. Many times we make it bigger than it is. There's some dumb ones up in there. I mean, really dumb ones. You think about what someone must be like to go that way. I mean, the informant probably is more relevant person. The one that's in is probably the dumb sucker because they didn't believe somehow or something when they took the oath. That's real bad. The informant may be in a jam. They may be in a circumstance. Look, They told that woman who they wanted to set up buried. They said, look, we're going to take your child because you got this cocaine beef. And you know one thing you can't do with no woman is be messing with their baby. You just cannot do that. Anything. And I'm not to say corrupt or something immoral, but you jeopardize a woman's relationship with her child potentially, and that will compel them to do any sort of thing. And it was evident in that particular case where the FBI, yeah, we was going to hold it for you, sister, that the FBI who's she talking to in the
St. George, you talking to St. George.
Why she talking to you? She know you?
I don't know, I've never seen the bitch.
I see you at the Million Man March, and I know you just a pledge. And I know you meant witch. I know you meant witch, because witch might be better than that other word. No, really. We don't do that. But
maybe she hasn't had her estrogen
Y'all
shot.
spirit, y'all need to do libation on the law, and the spirit's not right here tonight. I'm telling you, the spirit's not right, and I've been fighting all evening.
That's right. Okay. Now, I would like you, if you get a chance, to go and to check on March 30th of 1968, that last meeting of Martin King, and you might find some interesting dialogue going on between Martin, Bevel, Abernathy, and Jesse Jackson. And in fact, Gay Hoover was writing speeches for people. He had Whitney Young, Baynard Rustin, A. Philip Randolph, Roy Wilkins in the public speaking against Martin King, suggesting that he not be supported for his endeavor to Washington. And part of the process of that was that the people inside of Martin's organizations were repeating the same things that Hoover was having orchestrated on the outside. So if you were to take the time to check, I would suggest that we might find who was in the organization perpetrating Martin's death. The real point is that it's possible that they still have an impact today. And it's possible that as such, that they will be used to the point of extensive destruction because somebody got something on them. And it could be the same in many other assassinations. There are other assassinations out there that the whites could have something on someone with it that could compel their behavior. So we have to remember those situations. I'm going to Tuesday, starting at the Howard University Cafe, which was the hotel. There's a cafe in the first floor that's still open. Start giving a lecture on mysterious deaths in the New World Order. And one thing, as I watch Ron Brown's son and family take that tribute from the Democratic Party, and they got the big insurance check, too, that I'm sure they'd probably rather have their father. Now, when Ron Brown went down, I looked very carefully at Vernon Jordan, his mentor, the man who made him the man. And Vernon Jordan was excessively struck. Now, you know Ron Brown's daddy used to host the Boulay meetings at the Hotel Teresa in New York. The Boulay met in Ron Brown's daddy's hotel that he managed. And the Brown family had always been associated with the elites of the black society. As you heard in the tributes to Ron Brown, you heard his Sigma Pi Phi affiliations being read into the public. The Guardsmen, right? They emphasized the Guardsmen as well. And so what happens in the case of Martin King, as well as with Ron Brown, or Mickey Leland, who was another Boulay that met a death similar to Ron Brown's. Plane crashes right into a mountain. Whitney Young, Boulay man, died in Africa. They're not able to fight against what's been wrong them because they have pledged allegiance to the situation. In other situations, they've either had to kill or sacrifice people to live, only sometimes it's not personal. So if you can always do someone else, you don't mind doing someone, but if they tell you to do someone who you know, or to step back or stand down when someone you know is being done, then you know that is the epitome of tolerance, and white folks call it maturity, that he can accept, that's his role to accept that. And I watched the pain on his face. Now, Vernon Jordan has been shot. He was shot when he was with that white woman, and he was shot by a white supremacist that was stalking him. But he one of the few black men to be in the Bilderberger group, which is even more privileged than the Trilateral Commission. Meets exclusively, primarily in Europe, with a different type of family than you find the operators of the Trilateral from Western Europe, Japan, the United States. You find the princes and the kings and the others in the Bilderberger meetings. And for him to be of that stock, and Ron Brown to be son of Vernon, and for him to be the man who could mediate white people, he was such a good mediator, he could make a white man love another white man with the black man as the conduit. That's difficult for a black man to sell another white man to a white man. And he took down. They took him down. And they're really working hard on these Clinton planes and stuff. I don't know what's up.
Well, wasn't he also the person who made Jesse when he ran for president?
Yeah, he was the man. In fact, I was there at the hotel in Atlanta when the deal was struck. That was the deal that put Jesse Jackson Jr. on the DNC, put Willie Barrow on the DNC. These are people from Operation Push in Chicago. And that's when Jesse got the $1.2 million to do voters registration. The minister was there. He gave the speech at the Wheat Street Theater that Friday, the opening of the convention. He had the night before. I mean, everybody was up in there. And then came the deal. I remember standing next to Maxine Waters, who was breaking down crying because she didn't want them to take the deal. Everybody wanted Jesse's name to go down to the floor to be put in nomination and make there be a fight over the nomination. Jesse, knowing that would be sacrificial, cut the deal and prohibited the fight. That's why you see him cooperating so strongly now about being a team player on the white thing, because he knows in times like this to be obstinate or contrary could be costly. Now you see, simultaneously, I just left Chicago. The stories on the front page of Chicago, and I wanted to say this, was the story about the money from Libya. And what it was that the minister was there to receive an award from Libya. In fact, I got the Chicago papers here, and I know that did it run in the Baltimore Sun?
Yeah.
What was the flavor of the story? And I ain't gonna keep you all long.
Basically, the money that he was supposed to get the money and what it was for, and the fact that he asked the government permission to receive the money and what he said he was going to do with the money. Essentially that. Then of course he had an article written by Gregory Kane, this other man who is in opposition. He wrote something against Jesse and went on and on and on and on.
Did they run a story of the minister when he said he was going to lead a demonstration that America would never recover from? That they tried to block him from getting this money, that he would bring a wrath down on America like they've never seen. Did they run that story?
Well, they're supposed to disrupt the convention, the gang, obviously.
I think it was on speech on C-SPAN too, where he had something that he had just when he spoke before the National Black when he spoke before the National Black Media Association, and he said that if something happened to him, we would be sorry. This kind of thing.
Okay, well, interesting. Being in Chicago, it was interesting the way the story ran there. And I'm trying to find you the front page Chicago Sun-Times, because it was interesting how this was handled and how it was run in the public. Let me see here. I'm getting close. We got the Chicago papers here. I noticed that around the country, the story must not have run the same type of way. Interestingly enough, I was intrigued. What is the position of the person in the government who claimed that he could not get the money? You know what his position was called? Because I never knew there was a person called that. You know what the position was called?
came from the State Department.
Financial assets control person, some shit like that. You heard that?
Yeah, but Steve, you heard
Yes.
of them before?
Huh?
You heard of them before?
What's it called?
What you just said, you heard of them before. They did the same thing to IG Farben and all, and they took all their material from them in this country. Assets control.
Assets control. That's what it's called. Assets control. And you need to be aware of that because that assets control person probably got a zero profile. I mean, wouldn't be 10 people in the world knew who that was. But evidently, now you might finally get something. You can look up and see that this person exists so much to the point that they can stop money from flowing. Now, I thought about this question here. If you gave the money to Steve Coakley, say, okay, Gaddafi, you give me the money. I'm going to put the money in this bank in Puerto Rico or the Cayman Islands. Can't somebody come in that account and get as much of it as they want? Since it don't say Gaddafi, it say Steve Coakley. I mean, it seems like there'd be a smooth way to get the money without having to be worried about the assets control officer. I mean, that's how Rothschild made it. Rothschild hid his money from the tax collectors. Right, Mylansky as well. In fact, I think here we go. We got it right here. Here we go. Here we go. This is Chicago sometimes, Thursday, August 29th. And you can see it's a little torn. It says, U.S. says Farrakhan can't take Libyan cash. Okay, got it? Got the story. This is front page. Chicago Sun-Times, August 29th. What's wrong?
Well, I was in Minneapolis and I picked up the Milwaukee paper, the Minneapolis paper, and they had two different spins on it altogether.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Is you gotta pull back up what you saw because whites kind of went wild on it, like a meter flicking on both sides. It says here, the U.S. government on Wednesday denied Nation of Islam leader Louis Farrakhan's request for permission to accept a $1 billion gift from Libyan Muammar Gaddafi, saying Libya, quote, is a strong supporter of terrorist groups. What is it real? Farrakhan Chicago attorney Rufus Cook filed a fight in court and said a populist movement is a distinct possibility. Farrakhan, who arrived in Libya Wednesday, said Tuesday that if a legal effort failed, he would, quote, go across the nation, stirring up not only my people, but all those who would benefit from the money which he said would be used to rebuild inner cities. Farrakhan said he would lead a march on Washington, quote, like you've never seen in the history of this country. In a statement from his office, Cook said there is, quote, no basis in law or common sense for the Treasury Department's decision. He goes on to explain that Richard Newcomb, director of the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets, what's his name? Richard Newcomb. Richard Newcomb.
Spell it.
N-E-W-C-O-M-B. Newcomb.
No T, huh?
No T.
What is Steve? What's his title?
He is the director of the Treasury Department's Office of Foreign Assets Control. Says that the request was denied because the U.S. needs to enforce the policy of isolating Libya because of its links to terrorism. Now you got to figure out, who does America isolate you from inside your city, inside your counties, inside your neighborhoods, same like they do outside? You will see the formula and not recognize it as being anything but an accident.
Ball players.
I missed it.
Ball players.
What's ball players?
Pro ball players.
What, huh?
The pro ball players.
What about?
They don't allow them to associate. Like,
Oh yeah, them too. Them too, right. And he goes on to say U.S. is convinced that they're supporting terrorism and this and that. And he goes on to give the minister's response. Then, the second story comes, Farrakhan passes up Libyan gift. This is Saturday, August 31st. And this suggests that they'll go forward with the legal process to secure the money. And you notice here that Representative Peter King, Now notice how the white boy, he can stop shit. One white boy congressman is 434 other of them. He can stand there and stop shit without a committee hearing. He can just say shit. How many black congressmen do you see out here stopping white people doing anything? They don't get out. I mean, just the pressure that they put on stuff. Peter King can make the world stop at his office if he wants to without a vote of Congress. Just on his declaration that that's what he want to do.
Isn't he on the Foreign Relations Committee for Congress?
Oh yeah, he's on that too. Here's the story where the whites are knocking out Carol Moseley Braun. Promises lost, senator is no longer a star. Bewildered, beleaguered lawmaker has failed to live up to her image. And see, the little white women got there and helped her defeat Alan Dixon, because Dixon helped vote for Clarence Thomas. So now, Sister go to Nigeria, they ready to beat her out the box. I mean, literally every story in Chicago was how Carol Moseley Braun just went to her funeral. And every white is lining up to do her. Oh, Joe Kennedy was one of the hottest things in Chicago. He had big parties for free, and he's on the Oprah show, and all I can tell you is look like there's going to be some more shootings, because it look like another Kennedy getting ready to stick his head up in that stuff. Yeah, little John about to get some lead. Because it looked like he's sticking his head up in there. And you know, they got a prohibition on Kennedys. And you know what's funny? Oprah asked him, said, well, what about that selling your mama's stuff? You sold all your mama's stuff. And what he really said, you didn't hear that part. I think they cut it out on your part. He said, well, when my mama went and got with that stank butt Onassis, I said, as soon as I get a chance, I'm going to sell all her shit. Because then her husband gets shot, and she go off with one of the killers. Remains famous. Never gave an interview in her life. Never gave, in fact, Oprah made a point about saying, you know, hard as I tried, now I'm kind of glad I never got no interview with her. Because she lived and died, never gave one. What would she say? Huh? Oh, the tape ain't, brother. The tape went out when Donald was talking. One thing I want to emphasize, I got a lot of, since I saw you all last, and I really want to do this on overhead, and hopefully Donald and I set up another lecture real soon. We'll have Copley in the beginning and Copley at the end. And I could have had my overhead because I really feel bad that I didn't get to share my information with you, and that deals with the concept of the guardian animal. One of the things, you know, as we looked at the Boule logo, and it's always been this griffin or gargoyle looking thing, these goofy looking things like this, these animals. I've been able to perfect the theory about what a guardian animal is. That the Boule is Skull and Bones, Rhodes Scholars, the Army, the Navy, the Baltimore Police, the Mayor's Office. They're guardian animals. And if you tiptoe through a dictionary of symbols, you'll find definitions for guardian animals. Remember, we looked at the definition of the griffin in Webster's, a white man new to the east. And you know, there's magazines now that sell big time these gargoyles and stuff. White people are buying gargoyles more than ever before in their life. They're buying gargoyles and putting them up in their houses, over their archways, in their gardens, and they're getting real spooked by some evil shit. Now, of course, it's going to be white when it comes, but they got these gargoyle things all over the place. Even they got gargoyle cartoons for the kids.
Right.
They did what?
Disney runs
Disney runs them.
Runs gargoyles. Because they had Disney afternoon lineup, so they line it all up.
And then they had the little flick, the Disney flick, Hunchback of Notre Dame, which plays into the gargoyles who ride at the top of the church in the whatchamacallit. Now, the Boule we know is a Grecian Sphinx, and we looked up and found all of these sphinxes. And what I really wanted to show you was this one book here on this hand here is Biederman's picture of a Grecian Sphinx, and this is Surlott's picture of a Grecian Sphinx. And what we're talking about is an animal with the legs and body of a lion, the breast of a woman, and the wings of a bird. This is an esoteric symbol. Now in the Boule History Book 95, they talk about the origin of the alphas in the book. And interestingly enough, it says the Alphas. It talked about the Alphas, the Masons, the Black Church, and the Boule. And it says to understand the coming forth of the Boule, you need to know the history of what was power in the black community in the late 1800s. It says the Black Church was the Freedom Avenue. People went from slavery through the church. Church was the byway, and went on to describe the history of the church. And then it talked about the Alphas. It went underneath it. The things started after it. It described them. And then it says, and then unique to all of them was Sigma Pi Phi, the most esoteric of all the above mentioned organizations. Now, if you're an organization, you're more esoteric than a Mason. You're talking about, what does esoteric mean? Let's get straight on this. What does the word esoteric mean? Hidden. So we're talking about the Boule History Book 95 calling itself as an organization, telling everyone else, we are the most esoteric of those things that came black, which means it has hidden meaning. So we have to break the code on the hidden meaning of what this Grecian Sphinx is, or a guardian animal. And in Biederman's description, he says the female Sphinx of Greek tradition has its origins in a fairy tale motif. This Sphinx was often winged, always female, a demon lurking at the side of the road, challenging travelers to solve her riddle and devouring all those who cannot. Now, somebody always say, well, brother, you know, you fucking with them people, how come they just don't come and get you? I said, well, you know, it's just like, how do you get a lock open? You got to go so many this way, so many that way, so many this way. You got to break the combination. And so if you're in the process of breaking the combination, what makes you think a one can be compelled to stop it? Again, it says it devours all those who cannot what? Solve it. But what if you
Oedipus did.
yes, that's the Oedipus. And what is Oedipus? That leads me right to the next one, brother. Let me pull you up, Oedipus. No, I'm right with you, because that's important that he said that. Yes, the Oedipus. This is from Manly Palmer Hall's The Secret Teachings of All Ages. There's his Grecian Sphinx. The body of a lion, the wings of the bird, the breasts of the woman. And he says that this is, he says the Greek Sphinx is hooked. No, it says the Egyptian Sphinx is hooked to the Greek legend of Oedipus, who murders his father and marries his mother. And what does the word Oedipus mean? Swollen foot. That's why your boy had the Achilles heel program, was right up here in Baltimore. What did the Achilles heel program do? It was the project to pick up the guns, Achilles heel. You were the Achilles heel. What is the Achilles heel? The old Roman history. It's the thing that bugs them, that he got to get rid of that shit to make it go right. The Achilles heel. You know what I'm talking about? You heard the term. Right. Got to go back and check the meanings, because you are it. Okay? It says that Oedipus deals with the number 9. Oedipus deals with the number 9. What walks on 4 legs, right. Then upright on 2, then with the staff. Now this is where I check the difference between the whites and the blacks. The whites say you need a staff, or on 3 legs. Right. Another says you need an eye, or your third leg is here. Now, when I'm studying the white boys, the round table group, because the thing to the Boule is that it hooks to the round table group. Now, I'm studying the round table group, and I know that the word round table, when you look it up in the dictionary, it equates, with the word pi. 2 lines with a slash. That's pi. That's pi. 2 lines with a slash. It's similar to the Reebok logo. And then you think about the Reebok commercial. In fact, I saw it before I left it. They had a little football game thing on, football athletes. And it was, are you ready to call this your planet?
Right. Like global concept.
This is my planet. The pie, the round table, claims the world. This is my planet. Then what happens when that little character of the black thing is with the shack? He gets up on the edge of the couch. He says, what does the little thing say? You got room for a brother on your planet. And what happens? So we can't play for a sandwich, and we can't even own our own planet. What was Reebok's logo before this? British flag. The British flag, the Union Jack. That's what it's better called because it's a Masonic thing. The original American flag was red and white stripes with a Union Jack in the center. The Union Jack. Look at those Masonic temples. You'll see the Union Jack in the windows. And where your temple at?
225 North Charles Street.
It ain't 33rd and Charles?
No, it is 33rd and Charles. The Bohmy Temple.
Huh?
The Bohmy Temple. B-O-U-M-I Temple.
Yeah.
That's where all the big boys go.
But there is one on
both of them on Charles Street.
Yeah. And that goes.
And in between is a Roman.
Remember the days we used to go to the University of Notre Dame out there and stuff?
In between.
The prohibited and all that. We've been a lot of places, man. We ever got to that place.
Cathedral of Mariana.
They all closed down.
In between.
And they all came down to the ground. We were never there. And it was right. We was right. Anyway, my point is that this round table is significant because that which we connect this guardian animal to, what does the animal guard? It guards the round table. And all of these suggestions about what these guard, this is Anton LaVey in the Satanic Bible. He says demons are malevolent spirits which attributes conducive to the deterioration of the people or events that they touch upon. The Greek word demon meant a guardian spirit. The Greek word demon. If you look up the word devil in the dictionary of symbols, you'll see it equated with something called the Grecian Sphinx. It says, like the Grecian Sphinx. Now, and it's much easier showing you this on overhead, the guardian animal, the concept. Think about military intelligence, or spies, or armies. It says guardian animals, mythical monsters, and a wide variety of fiercer animals have been employed universally in the guarding of treasures or sacred places. And don't forget this thing about the third eye, because you know, in the round table, the thing to the round table boys was the pursuit of the what? Holy Grail. If you go check up the white boys' dialogue about the mythical thing called the blood of Jesus or the Holy Grail, if you hear deep in that discussion, they say, we are always in pursuit of the Holy Grail because it symbolizes our lack of third eye or melanin. And we are in pursuit of it. Now, I was watching Tony Brown Journal today, running in D.C., had the dude on about the melanin. He was talking about the melanin craze, how the way melanin is selling. The whites think they got the formula to make them more than just white.
Well, in Australia, they're doing something in Australia.
But Steve,
yes.
They all taking shots. They all taking shots. And they getting dark. I mean, I looked at the chick that did that thing with the Charlie Parker movie. What's his name? The brother that did the movie.
Forrest Whitaker, which was an awful flick.
The white girl that played that with him. She damn near dark as Lenore. They got it, and you can see it because I run up on them and they tell you that they taking these shots.
Australia, they have perfected a...
Well, they gonna calcify anyway. That's why they turn into salt. They really turn into calcium. Yes, brother, quick.
Oh, yeah. I just want to say, that kind of dialogue, you may look up and see somebody changing their pen pretty soon.
Changing their pen?
Right.
I don't get it. It must be some inside joke.
No, I'm talking about, from Grecian Sphinx to...
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. It hurts your feelings, would you? Because you always want this spot. It says, guardians of the threshold may overcome the sacred realm before they can be entered. They perform the function of preventing the would-be entrant from going too far, too fast, and encountering more than it is possible to bear or understand. The threshold being the meeting place of the two realms, the outer and the inner, the profane and the sacred. Treasures and the entrance of temples, churches, and other sacred places are guarded by dragons, lions, winged bulls, serpents, scorpion men, gargoyles, and a great variety of fearsome creatures. The dragon, serpent, or naga is the most usual guardian. As such, it is generally depicted as guarding the most dangerous of all things, the tree of knowledge or the tree of life. That's very significant in esoteric dialogue, the tree of knowledge and the tree of life and the shapes that they form. Fabulous monsters have their own specialized function. The griffin, being the bird of gold, naturally guards gold mines. The sphinx guards esoteric knowledge, and the eagle watches over the two gates of the world. And then it made me think about the Masonic symbol. What's it? The double-headed eagle. If the eagle is supposed to guard the two gates, I guess he needs two damn heads. And that's the double-headed eagle. Now, next to that, you see another symbol. That's the logo of military intelligence. It has a sphinx in it, a Grecian sphinx. And that's the symbol that military intelligence uses. Let me show you this. This is military intelligence headquarters at Fort Huachuca. Look at what...
Fort Huachuca.
Well, y'all got to know it if you've been there. I ain't been there, so I don't know it.
Yeah.
Steve, can we see that?
Oh, here I come, here I come.
On Clear Present Danger, what they do is at Fort Huachuca, they link it to the communication system, so all communications that go around the country, they can pick it up.
Right, well, this is the headquarters of Army Intelligence. And so what sits out front? What do you see? Army Intelligence sits, because why? What is Army Intelligence?
Secret.
What, no, give me that term. Give me the term. Huh? Guardian animal.
Right.
What is intelligence? What is intelligence? What is military intelligence? A guardian animal. What is the boule? What is the double-headed eagle? What is the griffin? What is the gargoyle? What is the school system? What is television? What is music? There you go. What is baseball? What is life? It's a guardian animal. It is all designed to protect you from knowing of one thing, the center of something. That's all they do. They're guardian animals. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah, and it's the point to pick up that we'll be trying to sort through the individual. It's the thing. It's the thing. And now check this out. The crew that we're after, the Rhodes Rothschild Secret Society, ones we talked about in Morgan in 1991. That tape, that's the one tape I still carry with me if I don't take nothing else. And in that, we always talked about the secret society that was a circle within a circle. That's the format. So, when you look right on the neck, what's on the neck? And see, I could do better if I was showing you this something. I'm really, half my effectiveness is gone by not having my equipment. What is that on his neck? A circle and a smaller circle on a medallion on his neck. To the one who does not know the code, they can look at it and see nothing. Damn Sphinx. And what do they say? It says, the Sphinx, tradition, symbolic of military intelligence, with the lion's body, a woman's head, this mythological creature has exemplified the combination of strength and wisdom from ancient times to the present. This statue is on display at the U.S. Army Intelligence Center, Fort Huachuca, Arizona. And there, if you can see it there. I don't mean to not have you see. You can see what's around his neck. Now, military intelligence got this logo in 1923. Now, that's interesting. Now, watch this. Come on. Now, look at this. This military intelligence. Now, this is the patch that they wear. If you notice, you see a skeleton key. You see a skeleton key and the Grecian Sphinx. And the phrase underneath is what? What's that phrase right there saying? Oh, no wonder. I'm sorry, y'all. Supposed to be able to read backwards. What does that say? What is a guardian animal? What is a guardian animal?
Always out front.
What is a guardian animal? Always out front. No, it's always out front. If you gonna block for OJ, where you gotta be? Out front. Right? So when we get to those out front things, we know appropriately what it is. They're not to be tackled. You ever seen anybody, when you watch the game tomorrow, the Ravens are playing the Buffalo Bills or whatever. You know, Pittsburgh Steelers. You ain't gonna see the linebacker of the Ravens go jump on the tackle of the other team, tackle his ass down, sit on him, and do his little thing like he got the quarterback, and the boy ain't got the ball. Right. So you ain't gonna catch the linebacker checking the tackle. You may see him try to do something to put him in a weaker position. You may even see one linebacker or defensive man use himself to sacrifice to take out a wedge of blockers and strip the ball carrier and make him go what? Out front. You want the ball man out front. Out of the way. You know, the old football was, they all stood in the line and moved like this and shit. They block like that. Blocking has gotten so sophisticated that you could block a people without touching them or out conflicting with them. You know how they have what they call trap plays. Trap plays. Politics. Trap play. You get on the line, the play is a cross buck. It's a trap play. What happens? The linemen line up, knowing that a defensive man is to follow a trend or a tendency. The lineman gets down and starts pulling. The other opposition looks at the formation and starts moving with the shifting of the formation, and it was a trap play. Without blocking the person, you move them with deception and trend and opened the hole and brought the back through. Based on conditioning. The conditioning must be correct. So you would have to do this every 4 years to make it work. These two arms, Democrat, Republican, are guardian animals. They protect something. They ain't it. You can't tackle them and win. You can't defeat smoke and win America, or even win Baltimore. For there's a process of succession that guarantees if it ain't him, it'll be someone else. So it'd be just like I couldn't be, if I was an ex-FBI and I thought they was bad, I couldn't stand up and say, well, good FBI need to go in there. No, the whole damn thing need to come down. Ain't no good man going to no bad thing. Anyway, last thing I want you to pick up with. Last thing. This is the Boule logo. That's the Boule logo. That's their Grecian Sphinx. They the out front thing, right? Now, if you look carefully, you'll see that the right paw is up on this guardian animal, and it's over this little vase or urn. Can you see that? See, his hand is up over the urn. Can you see that? I'm sorry, Papa. I haven't been good to the cameraman. I'm sorry, bud. You get it? I'm sorry. You see that? The hand is up over the urn. Of course, many of you have seen this before. This is in the tape-based theory on evil in video. In audio, it's the Beast in the 6696 or Pi equal round table. Pi equal round table, even more so. It's all just guardian animal. Now, when we read the Boule Convention here in '94, Sister Karen shot a picture of the place card at the Hyatt that said Boule Convention upstairs. It was just a little place card. Well, on the place card, we saw that it went sigma, 9 squares, sigma, 9 squares, pi. What's pi mean? What's pi in the dictionary symbols equals what? Round table. Pi equal round table. You need to look up the definition of the word pi. The dictionary of symbols says pi is equated with the Chinese shape called pi. In fact, interestingly enough, it brings up the word sky and round table, and then you thought about that old phrase called pie in the sky. It's absolutely correct. And so, sigma 9 squares. Now, we noticed that those 9 squares meant something, and we found that they were the 9 chambers of the Kabbalah. We looked up in another book and found that those 9 squares were the magic chambers of the Kabbalah, and it's like tic-tac-toe with a box on it. In fact, this is a smaller version. I know you can't see these well, but it's just 9 squares. Those are called the 9 squares of Saturn, the 9 chambers of the Kabbalah. They're from the Middle Ages. What's significant about it is that when we go to, it says the Boule is based on the tenets of Skull and Bones at Yale. Well, Yale is in the city of New Haven, Connecticut. If you go to New Haven, Connecticut, you'll find that it's called the city of the 9 squares. So New Haven, Connecticut, that houses Skull and Bones that the Boule is set up on, is called the city of the 9 squares. When I go there, right in the 9th square, which is the center square, they had the headquarters of the Knights of Columbus. And they had square 9 real estate, residence at the 9th square, everything there was 9 squares. Well, in the center of the 9th square was a symbol that made the gold of Mendes, which is also you would want to get out of the base theory on evil and how the Code of Mendes hooks into the diamond of DC. These are all hooked together. When the minister gives his speech at the Million Man March, he's talking about Hiram Abiff, the master grip, the size of the steps, 19 steps, the numbers, the size of the monument. He's talking numerology. And they answer back, 400,000 at the march. Everybody said, that ain't the number.
Right.
But 4 was the number. 4. Fours. 4 sides to DC is the diamond. The 4 is like the 4 legs of the Grecian Sphinx, the 4 seasons, the 4 at the death.
Put you on the square.
4 put you on the square. 4 has a role, and it was an answer to a series of discussions that most of the people missed. Now, when we look back at the Boule, and this is the last thing I show you, the latest Boule history book shows the Grecian Sphinx and urn. And it's 2 history books they did, one in 54, one in... Well, there's a 54 version, there's an updated 69 version, and then there is the book 2, which is 95. And in book 2 is a description of the Grecian Sphinx, their Grecian Sphinx and urn. And it just says this: founders of Sigma Pi Phi. The pen is modeled after the Grecian Sphinx, the most famous in Greek mythology being the Sphinx at Thebes. She had the head of a beautiful woman, the wings of a bird, the body of a lion, representing power, strength, and intelligence. The urn in the pen, guarded by the paw. The urn is guarded by what? The paw. What's in the urn? Says represents the container. The urn in the pen, guarded by the paw of the Sphinx, represents the container into which were placed the names of Greek citizens who would be chosen by lot to lead the state. So what's in the urn? The names of who?
Greek citizens.
The names of who runs. And is this an open set of names or a closed set of names? How do we know it's closed? Because it's guarded by the paw. But then we also know that that's what a Grecian Sphinx is. It's a guardian animal. So what does it guard?
The name.
What is it our people don't know?
The name.
Who the name?
Now, it's really weird, all these years ago, to have come to this point on the Boule to really go back into that little esoteric thing, to pull a little thing out. Way back when I got started, way back in Chicago, I was way back, I ain't that old. When I started my little thing started up, and they said, well, Steve, what you gonna do? I said, well, I'm gonna name the names. This was my little thing. Steve Coakley naming the names. And the point of naming the names, I don't mean to show it knuckleheadishly, but the point to it is that the naming of the name, everybody said, well, you know, that don't make no sense. That's not a strategy. You can't. But I kept telling them, I said, well, you know, as I've done this little research, the one thing you all keep paying me for is what I'm telling you. And all I'm telling you is who they are. So if you knew this shit, you wouldn't be paying me. And I make more than most of you. I don't mean I make a lot of money or I don't have no money. And look at me, I'm personally teeth falling out and everything else, breath stank and dog ass and feet stanky, whatever. But we got this information. And we got it because we went looking for it. We found it. We wanted it. We were in pursuit of something. And because we were in looking for something, we found it. Now, we didn't have the most to work with. We didn't have no special powers, no see-through secret doors, no secret group. Just straight out, dogging it down, dogging it down, dogging it down, dogging it down. And each, just like I said, we just picked up this newer stuff. Now, here's the bottom line. That ain't gonna make nobody in radio go and put it on there tomorrow. Because we got something out of a network that no one has, and it's of benefit to our people to understand the role of guardian animal. That ain't gonna make nobody put it in the newspaper. That ain't gonna make nobody do nothing. And that's what's dangerous about it, that even in the face of it, it will make nobody do nothing. Because really, everybody don't want to. Just not a goal. And in DC, I want to tell you, damn near everybody in there work for the government. Every time I go to somebody, give do something, well, you know, I got my job. Now, you know, they laid everybody off last Christmas, so they cut down. I'm just one of the last few, still here. And I need my job. On and on and on. And last thing is, they could have been this. This is what the boule could have been. This is a Kemetic version of the Grecian Sphinx. This is the way it really was. They call it a cherub. Not a cherubim, not cherubs. Both of them guardian animals or subordinates. This is a Kemetic Sphinx. And in this issue of Biblical Archaeological Review, it says in this story that we found these all over Africa, cut in mantles of 5x4. There was a Kemetic 9. The Greeks just imitated it. And this is what deep in masonry and all the rest of the stuff they tell you don't. What's the number 72 mean? I mean, I know it's as 9, but anybody in here Mason? I mean, I ain't trying to put you on the spot, but what do the number 72 mean?
They ain't gonna say it. They're not gonna say it.
I'm not asking you to tell. If anybody, and I ain't trying to put nobody down, but I would just say this. I'll say the lesson. If it was, and you have said the number 72, or that's the number of stones on the dollar bill, or the word tetragrammation, which will come out when you start dealing with these 9 squares, and they go to these 9 squares and this tetragrammation, and the word Yahweh, and YWDHAWAWHA, and these other words that deal with the name of God. I just want to tell you this. I've done enough research now to say that when the white man who imitated the great Kemetic societies found the true name of God, they set a tenet in all further societies that they never wanted the name to be uttered. So when you're black, not speaking your name, no, the reason you're not speaking it is not because it'll cause harm of you saying it. It was that the white man who manipulated your system sold it back to you, told you you couldn't name it, and it was your name he never wanted you to utter, which would hurt his name. That's why he changed his name. Always. But anyway, I just made that suggestion, and only you in those societies will know what I'm talking about.
But keep one thing in mind, that the figure in Egypt, in Kemet, in front of the Great Pyramids in Giza, is Hermaket, not Sphinx. Enforced on the horizon. The Greeks call it Sphinx. You never hear no Kemetic refer to it as a Sphinx.
Right, because in Kemet they were gods.
Right.
And that's what this story says. That's the essence of this story. It says the Greeks were the first philosophers.
But never call it a Sphinx.
Right. Now watch this. Let me tell you why. Let me tell you the point. This is the point. God's throne is the story. The white man says, and he makes this confession. He says, you know, the reason we were the first philosophers were because in Kemet, those things we call Sphinx were gods, and they were all-knowing and all-present. Said we, the white man, the Greek man, we didn't know God. Therefore, we started philosophy, where we spoke of what we never knew. And that's why they became the guardian animal. And this was the God.
And if you want to add to that, Hermaket really is symbolic of Leo in the heavens. See, the first age of the great year, which is 26,000 years, 13,000 years ago, see, that Sphinx, that, like you look in your horoscope, that on March the 21st, that lined up right with what you call the Sphinx, which is Hermaket on the horizon.
Mm-hmm. It was all cosmic. The whole layout was cosmic.
Everything in Egypt is a reflection of what's in the heavens.
And that's where you get the encroachment of movies like Stargate.
You know Stargate.
And what's this other thing they just put out? Independence Day.
Same direction.
That suggests that these other authorities are deviants, and the white man better beware.
And like the three pyramids in Giza, at a certain time during the year, they line up with the 3 stars in Orion's belt. And when that happens, the Nile River will line up with the Milky Way. So if you don't understand what's in heaven, you're not going to understand
what's on earth. Right. And that's interesting. In the videotape, and that's only got video left is Measles, Mars, and Martin. There's a brother on there, Brother Hamza, who has this theory, and we disagree, but he has a thing that he says that the Kemetic people are evil people, and that the white man came from Saturn and some other places to Earth, and that black people are deviations of white people. It's a real thing, but it's in there. He had the right to be there, but it was excessively controversial. Listen up, listen up, listen up.
Also with the 72.
Listen up.
72 is in the 25,000 year cycle. 72 is 1 degree of the 25,000 year cycle.
26.
Okay, the 26,000 year cycle.
That makes age what? What does that make an age?
Wait a minute. Now, it's 1 degree of this sun's orbit around the greater sun, Sirius. Oh, wait a minute. I got the documentation, bro. Also, it takes 72 days for the maturation for the human sperm after you become a certain age.
Keep one thing in mind, though. You see,
Go ahead.
when you talk about the great year, you got to realize that if you look at a globe of the earth, it always sets on it for
I understand that, bro.
Just what I'm saying. That means it points to a pole star,
Right?
which is the geographical North Pole, you would call it. But 23 and a half degrees, we took a compass, it wouldn't point there. It put 23 and a half degrees off center. That would be the magnetic North Pole. Now, when the Earth revolves on this axis, say it's going clockwise, the magnetic North Pole is going counterclockwise, burst and take, 26,000 years to make a complete revolution. Back to that point. It's divided into 12 ages. Right? Like y'all use the horoscope, but that's a larger scale of it. So it's 2,000, I think it's 2,166, 2/3 years for each age.
2,158.
No, 166 2/3. And that means that we're in the age of Pisces now.
Right?
And in 2,000 plus comes we're going to the age of Aquarius. And it'll be there for 2,000 plus years.
Going back.
And every March 21st, if you want to find out what age you're in, watch the hello horizon of the sun. Whatever constant horizon, it let you know what age that you're in.
I already understand that, bro. Also understand where the red, white, and blue came from.
Well, I got a good idea about that too.
Okay, and you can see my problem.
Yeah.
They both above my head.
No.
All I got is this beastly hunky on my tail right here on Earth. I just can't get nobody to make Earth the issue.
Right? You're right, brother. You're right. You're so right. Earth is the issue.
It's all my crew back here.
Anybody read the book 5/5/2000?
I heard about it.
I have it.
I read it.
They be dealing with some real esoteric stuff, along with a whole bunch of lies.
Yes.
But some of it makes so much sense that I just beat up the book.
Always go out and check it out in the heavens,
Yes.
though.
Hey,
Where did you
that's
read the
where
book?
they sent you.
Go out and check
That
it
book
out
sent you out
to the
there.
heavens.
That's right.
Hey, Brother Steve, I get your spaceship.
I'm looking at
You like getting
white
the
here.
They get your spaceship, Steve.
You've been one of the 250,000 that go on that ship out of Kansas. They gonna fly away.
Right. Well, let me just say this.
They blow up the planet.
But see, I know they took possibly because they want to get us ready for the death camp.
Hold on, brother. Anybody else want a raffle ticket before I pull the raffle ticket? Listen up. Yes. Okay, hold on. We have very knowledgeable people in our community, and somehow we have to have some kind of avenue by which we can discuss these things. We have several unresolvable discussions. One of them is religious. We will never resolve which one it is. It will never be resolved until we resolve the enemy. Because at some point, if we don't resolve the enemy, at some point in the disagreement over religion or astral, we'll end up having to refer to a white for proof. And that'll be a whole nother problem. So we've got to figure out how we can get to certain disagreements on the avenue of resolution, or decide that we'll resolve them at another date. And yes.
You know, it's real funny how, I'm glad you brought this up, because one of the things that is so real about what you say is the fact that many of our elders who have gone on to be amongst the ancestors have told us what we needed to do a long time ago. And one of the things that Brother Malcolm said was that we needed to put the religions aside, because in the final analysis, what the white boy is planning on doing, excuse my expression, he could give a flying, what about which religion that we're going to be practicing. None of them are going to save us from what he planned to do to us. What's going to save us is us, nothing else. And as soon as we come to that realization, we'll be ready to deal with his ass, and then we can have this, we can go on and do what we got to do.
Because religion does divide and they conquer.
It divides because because many of us are ignorant about our history, and one of the things that Malcolm always talks about is that of all of our studies, history is best qualified to reward all research. If you go back and you study enough history, you'll have the answer as to what religion we're supposed to be practicing. I'm not even going to mention which one it is. I know which one it is. I ain't going to go into that. But what I'm saying, that what we got to do is we got to stop arguing about which one is better. Just decide that I have a statement I always like to make, and that is, and I'm going to shut up because I ain't trying to do no long lecture or anything. But my statement is this, and that is that the religion one practices is not as important as the practice of it. Right?
That's your religion.
And if we remember that, we'll stop arguing about which one is better. Practice yours. And what I mean by practicing that, how you deal with your brother, man, or the sister, that to me is religion. Not what you go to do every Sunday or every Friday or every Saturday in a mosque, temple, synagogue, or church. But how you deal with each other each and every day. As the Bible would say, how can you say you love God whom you can't see and hate your brother whom you can't see? So we got all that other stuff. That's as brothers, the young brothers like to say, let's kill it. And let's get busy and deal with that beast that's out there giving me wipe us off the same.
Yes, sir. Brother Steve, I would like to publicly apologize to every sister in this building for what I said. The sister came out, and when she went out the first time, she looked over at me and called me an SOB. When she came back in, she did the same thing again. And I lost it. And I apologize to every one of you. Because I love my sisters too much to be doing that. And this is the first time, like you said, brother, since the Millionaire March that I even heard that word come out of my mouth.
We appreciate you,
it really upset me.
We appreciate you.
And I ask and I beg for your forgiveness.
Apology accepted.
Yes, brother.
Let me add on what this brother said over here, that one of the things we do have to pay attention to in our community is that one, our awareness of our history and how we fit in this thing called history. We not just have to know about history, but who's in control of the history and who has it. Coakley and Flexibly said that, yeah, history and historical events take place, but who's been the big shot caller? Who has been the big shot caller? What's going to go? How the Mason boys say, well, look, this is how we're going to make this thing, and we're going to be on call it. And we got to make sure there you go. And that's what it's going to be taught. But we have so many control mechanisms in our lifestyle that a lot of us, that we tend to spend away from the things that we're going to do. Like Kobe said, you're going to have a lot of things control, like debt. Debt control. They make sure that your financial situation is not, you'll never be there to get out of your debt. I mean, a lot of people got the right.
Let me pull this raffle. I want to pull this raffle before everybody goes. Brother's gonna reach in there and pull one out. Now you gotta reach in there, it's paper and it's dollars, so you gotta find a little paper. You won't win anything. This is for the video state of the race. Okay, yeah, you got one. Okay, the winner is number 2. Number 2.
That's right.
Okay, and I'm gonna give away an audio tape. I'll give away an audio tape. I'll pull out another one. Number 12. Number 12. All right. I appreciate you all coming. Listen out for a future lecture coming soon. I didn't really get to pass and had anything. If anybody wants to make a donation, I'll put the bag on the table. Still have some tapes left. Brother still got his books over there. Brother Dono, you can see Brother Dono cut tape sometime in the future. Brother Dono had a tape available for you. I appreciate you all. And I promise that come back here with the overhead projector. I'm so sorry I didn't have the overhead. I appreciate it.